Sufjan Stevens' The Ascension. It is long. It is 1 hour and 20 minutes long and 15 songs. Sufjan Stevens is an incredibly interesting person. Electro pop, I guess you could say safely in that genre.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
would say it is.
yeah, not necessarily experimental, but definitely one to make concept albums. There's like a couple of concept albums based off of different parts of America. There's Illinois, there's Michigan. Um, there's a bunch of whole random concerto like ode
Yeah.
pieces with all these different parts within them. He does a lot of stuff. He's a very interesting guy. This latest piece, The Ascension, is I'm gonna put all my cards out there. Kind of a masterpiece. It's kind of amazing to me.
There's a lot to listen to. As I said, John Greer says, there's loads to listen to. There's a lot in this album. The only thing I love throughout the album, I really like the musicality and the production is just clean and crisp. I'm gonna jump a little bit ahead because
Okay.
later half of the album, there's a lot of like garage influences in there and like
Yeah.
really like some old school like 90s UK garage in there mixed with some electro pop, which you really don't hear that often, or if you do, it's a hot mess, but it's not here. Um, it's I mean, I don't even know where to begin. There's a lot of crap in this, but it's good crap, which is nice to say. I'll give us my only one critique is I hate the vocal thing where it's just high pitched the entire time and very airy. It gets annoying after a while, but I know that's what he does. I know.
I think it's a here there
Yeah,
thing because
it
like
is.
It's in that time the combination with the light airy pitched like audio affected edited vocals combined with the sort of really glitchy experimental electronic pop music was very reminiscent of Radiohead. There are very many times, in fact, kind of early on where I felt like, oh, this is almost an Idiotech clone.
Well, there's a couple of tracks. That's what I like by the latter half, like Landslide, Death Star. Where that's where I really like the vocals in there because it fit way more into the musicality in the second half than the first half. Maybe it started off because the first two songs, "Make Me an Offer, Can't Not Refuse," and "Run Away with Me," were really vocal prevalent, and I'm like, okay, it's okay to have like once or twice in the album, but not to have throughout the whole thing with having just the high-pitched raspiness of the vocals, but within the later half, it was ended up doing a lot better in that regard. Because it's like when we say with 21, we don't want to do the whisper thing all the time.
Yeah.
It's cool to have in a couple songs, we don't want it all the time. But again, in the latter half, it changed a little bit within how it worked with the production. But anyways,
That's an excellent comparison.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of airiness into it, but there's a lot of crazy drums in this album where there's a lot of electro drums in it. There's a lot of normal percussion drums that are mixed with electro drums at the same time. So it's a lot of different beats, a lot of different measures, a lot of different time signatures in there as well. So that's a lot happening.
Yeah. God, yeah. I know you mentioned "Runaway with Me," and that was kind of a weird in the middle. Video game is that part where like it starts to get almost idiotechy and
Video game, you could definitely hear like idiotic things.
actually no, actually I would say even more than that, Lamentations, because of the weird drumming and the segmented voices kind of playing around. That's kind of where I was getting into what you were saying.
And Lamentations is my second favorite on the album. Landslide is my favorite song on the album. Lamentations is second, and I really enjoy. That's when I started to understand it a little bit more and get into it. There's a lot of music in there. It's really long, especially the last song. I think is what like they switched went to Cigarettes and put 12 and a half minute song for the last track.
The last couple songs are pretty long. Like Sugar, The Ascension's 5 minutes, but it's like relatively long. Broadly for a song, but like Sugar and America Broke both are over 6 minutes. Like America's very long. But that's I think one of Sufjan Stevens' benefits that especially like tease him up well for the way we critique albums on Audioface is his albums are always very complete works. They're ideas that have like a start and an end and a concept and a lot of meaning. And he's really good at kind of giving you all of that there. While sometimes being a little bit on the nose, at least he has that kind of consideration for having a complete idea in an album that you don't really get all the time.
It's very, it's cool because every song is cohesive, even though there's a lot of differences between each song. That how I like to do the thing where I put albums on shuffle and see if they still work, and it definitely does. Where there's a lot of different sounds in it, but you can still sounds like a complete work.
Yeah,
which is again rare to do and very very hard, especially when you have an album, a pop electronica album that is so diverse in it. So it's not just like your standard electronic album. There's so many different concepts that you're putting into it.
Yeah, this is substantially more experimental, I would say, than even most like electro pop tends to be. It's even more experimental than a lot of Sufjan Stevens going in there. There are a lot of memes. A lot of Sufjan Stevens music has been before. There were a lot of memes that were even pointing out like people who had listened to other songs of his before, listening to this for the first time, and they're just like dumbfounded because it's so very different. It's quite a leap. I think it does a lot well. And I haven't gone to the play this album through shuffle yet point, but I listened to this like 2.5 times, and all the way it's just like going straight through in the orders, and it plays through really nicely. In between Lamentations, you have Tell Me You Love Me and Die Happy to kind of slow things down. And then you have my favorite song of the album, which is also like begins, I think, the second part, which is a really nice aspect of the album, which is Ativan. And the song itself has an kind of interesting build up to the beginning, and then does that same sort of like conventional drums, traditional drums, sort of synthesizing together.
All the drums are just going mental by the end of that track. I remember listening to that. Where it's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost even reminiscent of Tycho sometimes. It's a very nice range.
Yeah, I could say like if Tycho took a little more drugs.
Yes, a little more drugs, but not the like rave kind, the kind that would only make you sit in your room. Maybe more like acid specific.
Like
shrooms. Absolutely shrooms.
Tycho on shrooms. That's what I'm calling this album.
And Tycho on shrooms, absolutely. You have more to talk about with like Ursa Major and Landslide and stuff, right?
Yeah, because that's when I really, really got into this album, especially with Landslide, because that was the first track where I listened to that song a couple of times when I got to it, because I very enjoyed it. That's when I started to understand the vocals more, where it was starting to be more prevalent, but it wasn't necessarily just stuck in that high, raspy part. It was now within the musicality of the song itself. And then he was doing where it's, I wouldn't say it's more conventional song, but it's more approachable. But then I could hear all the little beats. There's like a little chime beat in the background, little like bloops and dashes that I like to call when you're messing around, experimenting with electronics, and it's very, very good. We have Gilgamesh right afterwards, which is a little bit slower at the beginning, and then does like almost like a Sophie style towards the end, where it just like cuts in and out with the drums and stuff, which is a cool concept in it because it's not like too ear fuckery, but it's still good to where you can get into it. And then Death Star right after that, it's like straight up, almost like an industrial garage style track mixed with like pop synthesis, and it's very good.
Pop synthesis.
Synthesis. I can't say that word.
Synthesis.
Synthesizer? Yeah.
Yes, that's the
pop synthesis is like a thing, but anyways, it's good.
Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Yeah, the ending is like the rest of the album a bit much. Like the 3 songs, Sugar, Ascension.
Yeah, I think America was just a bit overdone for the ending track.
Absolutely.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but
I enjoyed the first half.
Yeah, and the second half just kind of droned on because there's maybe 2 bands or 2 groups who can put out long songs, and Sigaros is one of them, where like it's like a whole complete song for 13 minutes, and it's very hard to do that and keep you enthralled into a track.
Yeah.
Because America, if he cut it a little bit shorter, I think it would have been landed a little bit better. But that landing was like, I'm going to use the whole runway. ATC says I can use the whole runway. I'm going to use the whole runway, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
So.
The highest form of art and composition is almost like what it gets back to in everything is just restraint and knowing when to cut back a piece from making it too long, and how to fill a piece within a certain amount of time. It could have been a very meaningful, like, I was sort of expecting and wanting Sugar and Ascension to like lean in each other and be this really nice last song. And then America, because it was a single and it's like not all that different, but still kind of related to the rest of the album, could be this broader kind of focal point, maybe like some kind of slight message within there. I like the line, the refrain, "Don't do to me what you did to America," is kind of clever, but also isn't elaborated on that much more, but it's still like kind of cool and rides that line of being a little too hitting you over the head with the meaning. But yeah, if it were just like a shorter 5 or 6 minute song as a statement, it would have made more sense. It almost has the, as we were talking off camera earlier, the 1975 curse of like being a little bit too long for its own good, but still having like quite many good, damn say genius moments within it.
For sure. That's the only thing that's really dragging it back was that. But you want to go to arbitrary scale?
Yes, arbitrary scale this week is NBA teams that have made it to fewer finals than LeBron James. LeBron James has made it to, I believe, 10 NBA Finals now, with the Lakers being his 10th. And that's more than several entire NBA franchises. So we've done a lot of NBA franchise arbitrary scales, but this one is a little bit more specific and on a certain more like scale on its own. And because we haven't mentioned this in a couple dozen episodes, I'll just reiterate it. Audioface reviews every single album with an arbitrary scale because we believe all music reviews are arbitrary except for the words that are actually expressed in said review. Thereby reducing them to scores or numbers are just going to create some necessary arbitrary argument, thus we call it the arbitrary scale. Sean, are you done wiki-wikiing on your iPad? Have you found a
Yeah, I'm gonna put this as Denver Nuggets.
Where are the Denver Nuggets? That depends. They may have actually.
Or they might have had.
No, they have not. They absolutely have not.
I would be shocked if they had. It's just because that's one of my favorite cities is Denver. I spent a lot of time there. I do enjoy it, but their basketball team is not that good.
Yeah, not great. It might be.
Except they have those really. They do have those on there. Nice. They have those really cool rainbow jerseys.
Those are the limited edition ones. They wear them sometimes, but they are really nice.
Those ones are sweet, and I wish.
Might be the Oxygen, might be the Bears out playing them in pickup games out in the fields, but like.
Or it might be the Colorado Avalanche actually winning championships too. You know.
I don't know, something or the other. The mojo is just not there for basketball.
That's ironic. I am wearing an Avalanche shirt.
Amazing. I'm gonna give this ye old Memphis Grizzlies.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah. Why does Memphis have a basketball team? There's not much to say about them.
This is pretty shitty
kind
city.
Of why it's the
I'm sorry
scale.
if you're listening to this from Memphis, but my uncle lives there and he freaking hates it.
He's leaving there actively.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about like the California coastal New York exit, but like also people leaving Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And going to exotic locales such as Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yes.